permitting from A to Z. So some logistics for everybody that's online. This presentation is being streamed live. We also have it recorded. So at the end of the presentation, we will post this online, kind of the same place where you register for the seminar. And you may see some of our past recordings and slides from some of our previous seminars as well. But some logistics for everybody that's online. All attendees will be muted during this presentation. If you have a question for everybody that's in person, which we have quite a good crowd today, just raise your hand. Raise your hand, ask a question, then I'll repeat it so everybody can hear it online. And if you're online, just go ahead and click that Q&A button down at the bottom of the screen. And then we'll either respond via chat or I'll stop and they'll ask a question and I'll go ahead and answer that for you. But this is a live demonstration. I just want to emphasize that. I'm going to be doing everything from scratch, the exact same way you are. I'm even going to create an account from scratch. So fingers crossed, hopefully everything works. So I can prove that it does work, but nonetheless. So like I said, first thing I'm gonna do is kind of do a brief introduction of what the Build Sandy Springs website is. I'm gonna actually log in and I'm actually gonna register for an account, just like you do. I actually have a Gmail account that I'm gonna use. I'm going to apply for a permit, show you how to do that. I'm gonna help you navigate through the permit page. That's actually where your permit number, once you get assigned that. From there, after you apply, you can have a summary. You can pay your fees. You can check the status of your reviews. You can upload your documents. You can resubmit documents. You can actually apply for sub-records, which are basically, say you have a master project where I'm building a house and I want to add a pool to that. So you can use sub-records for that. Drawing resubmittals, approved drawings, how to get your drawings when they've been approved. Same thing for your permit card. So we've made a good stab at trying to get everything accessible online for you. So that's what we're going to go over today, is showing you how exactly that works. And I'm going to take it all the way through CO and kind of show you everything in between. So what is Build Sandy Springs? That's the city's permitting website. And basically allows everybody, homeowners, developers, contractors, to do everything. Like I said, just apply, upload documents, download the drawings, request your inspections, invoices, everything. The nice thing about it is that it's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And yes, it is mobile device friendly. The old system that we have, CAP, from about 3 years ago, was not. So we had a lot of trouble with it. It works with every browser, Safari, including Safari, Edge. When you apply, it's pretty simple. It has step logic, like 1 through 7. So you just follow each step and then just go through next. And we added quite a bit of instructions to each of those steps to kind of help you and made everything accessible that you would need as far as forms. And I'll go over that. Just overall, just good project management with it. To get there, you just go to build.sandyspringsga.gov. And let's get started. All right. So when you type in build.sandyspringsga.gov, this is the home screen. So brief summary of what we have here. This is basically everything that you would need to know about building in Sandy Springs. I know a lot of you guys may know this, but there's a lot of new faces as well. So I'm going to kind of give you a brief summary of this. My account, this is basically where you're going to literally register or log in, apply for a permit. You can pay your invoice, request inspections, request your CO, search public records, some basic information about who has a permit. But the bottom three are really the key things that I kind of want to point out is this is everything that the city has as far as what you're allowed to do and how to do it. So we have our GIS, we have our city development code and our technical manual. All right, the difference with the development code, that's what tells you basically all your planning and zoning, like what your setbacks are, what your build to requirements are. And the technical manual says this is how you need to do certain things like curb cuts and things like that. So specific details and drawings, like how to do something very specific where there may be a city standard. But if you go to the GIS, we had a previous seminar on that. It can tell you all kinds of things. There's 1,000 different layers that you can turn on. But what it's really useful for is it can show you if you're in the water, if you're near any water, basically, you know, Sandy Springs, hence the name Sandy Springs, has lots of water. We have tons of creeks, lots of streams. We have the Chattahoochee River. And, you know, we're very protective of that natural environment. So that's why we have additional setbacks and requirements for that. also different requirements when you're near those waters. So we're not going to go into the details of what all is required and all the specific design criteria. We actually have previous seminars that we've gone over, several of them actually, so you can go back and review those. But today I just want to kind of show you how to walk through the permit. So, like I said, technology. Maybe I'll go ahead and switch that one over. I'll plug both these in. Now, if nobody can hear me now, then we have a problem. So, got 3 mics on. All right. So, apply. So, a couple different ways. Our login register, excuse me. You can actually click on this button here, top left corner, login register, and it'll take you to the login screen. Likewise, you can go up to the top and you can actually register up there. So, right here, don't have an account, you click, and that will begin the registration process. So, like I said, I'm going to do a brand new one from scratch. So, let's see. So I created this test Gmail account last week. It has nothing in it. Like I said, hopefully Google did their job and it actually went live. Otherwise, we'll find it here shortly. But it's sandysprings.test@gmail.com. So it's not even a city account. So that's the first step. And you click next and it says, please check your email. Confirmation email will be sent to this. Yep, this is, give it a second. Yeah, there we go. Here it is, InterGov user. So this is what you're going to see is this is just your account confirmation. So what the computer is doing is allowing you, or it wants to verify that you have a correct email address, because we're going to use that to correspond with you. You're going to get quite a few notifications saying, hey, thank you for uploading. Hey, your drawings require resubmittal, et cetera, et cetera. Pay your invoice, you know, so all the good stuff. But so all you need to do here is click on the confirm button. So once you click on the confirm button, it's actually going to take you right back to finishing your registration. You see, I still have it open on this screen, step 1 of 4, and then it just relaunched it in case you checked your email later, next day or something. And you're going to finish it. So you're going to give it a password. Confirm your password. Verify that you are not a robot. Taxis. Can everybody help me out where all the taxis are? There we go. I am not a robot. And click next. There. Yeah, now one thing to note here, so this is the username. You can use whatever you want. I highly recommend that you just use your email because it's easier. I'll just say that. We have way too many to remember. So whatever you used for your email, just use that for your login. And notice it did tell me that I already had an account and it reminded me of that so that I can't create another duplicate account because that could cause other problems. So we'll go to next and we will go ahead and put in our information. I think this looks like a Sandy Springer kind of guy. And your contact preference. So how do you like to be contacted? I would typically say email. We really don't use snail mail much anymore. Everything's pretty much email. So I would recommend just go ahead and picking your email. SandySpringsTest@gmail.com. Yep. And then it wants you to finish filling out all your information. Now, I will tell you one quirk of this is everything is specific. You can't just say 123 Street Road, Sandy Springs Storage like you normally would. It's unique. So you need to keep that in mind when you're adding contacts and things like that. It wants the street number as a field. It wants the street name as a field, the street type as a field. I think they're going to be fixing that or adjusting that in the future releases, but for now, that's what it is. And that is my mailing address. And congratulations, Sandy Springer is now logged in. All right, so step one, good, things work. All right, so now that I've created an account, I'm logged in as Sandy Springer. You're ready to rock and roll. So now let's go ahead and apply for a permit and show you how that works. So we can actually click on apply. There's a couple different ways. You have the menu at the top. You can click on the apply up here. And these are permits. We're applying for a permit. I would just recommend showing all. And then show the categories. And we're going to apply for a residential permit. And this is just basically a filter. And it'll just show all the residential permits. All right. Likewise, if I go back to home and I click on apply, it basically takes me to the same place. Permits, residential. All right, so let's build a new house, residential single family house. So you just find the one that you want and click on apply. And then it begins the application process. You can see that there are 6 steps to applying for a permit. It's pretty simple. All right. And the key thing for this is we have the blue box. I call them the blue buckets everywhere. And that's where you're going to upload all your files and do everything. And you'll see as we go through. But the first step is location. All right. So this is where your project address is. So there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. The easiest way, if you know your address, is just simply type it in right here in the search. And another thing for EnerGov is less is more. I just put in the street name, the street number and the street name. Don't even worry about putting road or way or anything like that, because it is a computer. Computers are very specific and is a database of addresses in GIS is what it's looking for. So if you put in way or if you put a comma or a space, that's not necessarily how the computer sees it. So again, less is more. And same thing, we do contact search. So hit search and it'll come up. So a couple different ways you can actually select it and click on apply. One way you can do it, or if you don't know the address, so you just bought the property, you don't know where it is, or maybe there could be an instance where it doesn't have an address yet. It could be a 0 lot number. Okay, so a couple different ways you can do that. But basically, you can see as I zoom out, you see the entire city. I mean, this is Sandy Springs, in case you guys were wondering. We have a picture downstairs, looks like Daffy Duck turned to the side. But it actually has all the parcels. And the more you can zoom in, you can kind of navigate where you are, and you can actually select the one you want, and then you can click on apply. So, and when you do, if you click on it, then it'll actually pop up just like this, and you can just click on add. So either way, you can search for it, or you can actually just type it in. Yes, ma'am. Yep. Yes, it'll give you a list. So type in the street and it'll just give you a list of all the different addresses that have that street name in it. And it may be street road, street way, street boulevard. It's just going to give you every single thing about it. So that, yes, to answer your question, yes, you can. All right, so after you get the address in, so let's talk about this. So to answer your question, so we do have some how-tos. So what if you are to build, what if you're building on an undeveloped lot that does not have an address, which means it's a 0 lot number, but it does have a parcel ID, which is your tax. All right, then you just locate it, click on the parcel, and select that. Now, what if you're building building on an undeveloped lot, meaning it does not have an address or it does not have a parcel ID? All right, what you can do in the search bar, just type in XXX, and we've created a dummy permit or a dummy address. And what that does is that notifies GIS that we have a new address that needs to be created, and then we can create the address for you. And then we'll fix that on the back end after you apply for the permit.
You don't necessarily have to have a complete plat process and create all the addresses before.
That Yep. So the question that we had was, if you do not have an address, can you still apply? And then the second part of that question is, and the answer to that question is yes. These are the different scenarios that you can go about completing this application. And the second part of that question is, do you have to come in later and enter that address in? And the answer to that question is no. Staff will actually correct that address and put the correct address in there. So the next time you go into it, it will actually have your correct address in it. The addressing is, we have a team, a subgroup comprised of planning and zoning, somebody of an architect, and also the fire department. And it's critical. You can't necessarily pick the address you want. There is a sequence, a rhyme reason for why the addresses are what they are. That's for emergency response. So if you call 911, they need to know where to get you. That's why all things are in sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and things like that, going north and south and left side of the road versus right side of the road, and suites and buildings. So there's a naming convention that we have to adhere to for emergency services to be able to respond to you. But I've gone ahead and put the address in there. Click next, and we go to step 2. So these are your permit details, and we give a little description. See, there's 3 things here: a description, the square footage, and the valuation. Description is just basically a brief summary of what this is that you're doing. In this case, we're going to build a new 2,500 square foot ranch house. And it's 2,500, and let's say it costs about $450,000 to build that. Key thing to note here is this is the cost of construction. All right. This includes materials and labor. All right. This is how much it literally costs you to build this house. One thing you want to be careful of also is sometimes you may have to apply for a separate permit for your pool and a separate permit for your retaining wall. So you want to pull those specific pricing out of this specific permit, unless everything's included in if you're just building a house and you put everything in here. This includes the cost of developing your lot to put that in. It's just the total cost of construction. So we go to next. Now it takes us to context. So it's always going to add you as a context since you're the applicant. All right, but there's some other things that we need to have in here as well, such as property owner, billing contact. And it's pretty easy. We can just say, type in, like I said, all these blue boxes have a pull down. In this case, for context, say I want to go ahead and add my general contractor. So I change it to the general contractor, and then I go look for him. Let's see if Bob the Builder's in here. So this is a database of everybody that is registered in the system. All right, and that brings up another question. So we have a huge database. If you've done work in Sandy Springs before and you've applied for a permit, there's a good chance that we have you in the system if you've done work in here before. If not, it's okay, because we still require, on the next few pages, I'll show you where you have to upload all the contact information. The application shows who the general contractor is, the property owner, any subs that you may have. So we have separate forms where we'll get that additional information, and we'll actually input the rest of the contact info for you. But we still require a PDF, so we actually have that to compare, because sometimes people will put in information incorrectly, or maybe it's not in the right format, and it gives us a chance to fix it, because we can look at the paper copy, the PDF version of it, and compare it and make sure that it's correct. So let's see. Yeah, this is a brand new account. I had saved some shortcuts in here, but I forgot this is a brand new account I just created, so I don't have any shortcuts in here. But it's all right. We will just pick somebody and they will get lucky. Sandy Springs Toyota. There we go. Sandy Springs Toyota is my contractor today for the purposes of this seminar. And likewise, same thing, you would just keep adding everybody else that you would need. Joe, you want to hire Joe? Let's see if Joe's in here. Sam in the back says, let's see if we can find a Joe contractor. He does free work? He's hired then. Contractor. Hey, like there's a Joe contractor. Is that him? Because he does free work. That's gonna mess up my permitting though, so I might not use him. But you can remove people, change it, correct it however you want, no problem. All right, so the next one is more info. So basically what we're looking for here is just like a brief description of what the project is. It's pretty easy for a new single family house because it's a new single family house or whatever. But what if you're doing a remodel? All right. To tell us, hey, look, I'm redoing my master bath and my master kitchen, or I'm adding a master suite onto the back of my house. So that's your chance to kind of give us a description of what the scope of work is. So new house for the Springer residence. Yes.
I'm sorry, can we backtrack one question?
Yep.
The list available at the top of that contact listing was applicant, legal property owner, billing contact, GC. So if you wanted if you're a contractor and you want the property owner to be included in communications.
Yep.
Of the permit, would you add the legal property owner?
Yes. Yep, you can. And we can toggle things off and on, on and off, and who's going to get correspondences to some extent. But in general, so I don't have the luxury to kind of make everything customable. I don't want him to get it. I don't want her to get that, So legally, the property owner is ultimately responsible for everything. Okay. And the applicant, which is usually the GC or the design firm or an architect or something like that, 9 times out of 10, that's usually who it is. So we're always going to do the applicant because they came in. Likewise, I'm always going to do your contractor because your contractor has to get these emails. Like when we start doing inspections, they need to get the confirmation and the inspection results. They're the ones that are uploading revisions to drawings, just the whole permitting process. So there are certain key people. And then likewise the owner, because it's their property. So those are the key people that are always going to be getting the notifications. And I'll show you some of those here shortly as soon as we get started. All right, so like I said, more info and attachments. So here's where everything is. So every permit is a little bit unique and different. Some of them have certain different requirements, and some of them don't require certain things. But in general, if you see it's required, you have to attach a file. Now, we have this instruction unique to every single permit type we have. So if you don't have this, all you have to do is just click on this. It'll actually open it up. And you can see it's a fillable form. So just go and fill it up, fill it out, save it. Yeah, it's a good question. So let me open it back up. So we use Bluebeam. It's like Adobe. It's just a architecture, engineering, contractor, AEC specific type of PDF software. But Adobe is probably the most common one that everybody uses. There's others, Nitro and a dozen different other ones. But you just basically just come in here and you start adding your address. But anyway, when you get done, you just go File, Save As, and you save it on your desktop somewhere, wherever you want. And then that's where the file is. And then when we show you to the next buckets, that's where you can upload it. So to save time, I've already filled out some applications, so I'm ready to go. Yes, sir. Yep.
I filled it out yesterday.
Okay.
I tried to save it. The only thing that would save would be the blank sheet. It wouldn't save the information.
Depending on your browser settings, you have to actually download the document.
Yes.
First, and then open it. In
Yep.
a
So
computer
that's,
in order to fill out.
yep. So the question was, I'll show you. So the question was,
It's an extra step some browsers make.
it is. So what happens on a lot of default browsers until you have it change the settings is you actually open up a file, it'll come over here, and if you say open, it's just going to open up in a brand new tab. All right, and then what all that is your browser trying to pretend to be Adobe or Bluebeam, and it allows you to see it, but you can't actually edit the document. It's just like a viewer is all it is. So you have to do a save as like this, and it'll come up and it'll say, okay, where do you want to save it to? And then you open it up wherever you saved it, and then it'll launch in a real PDF browser, and then you can edit it, save it from there. But that's a very good question. Yep. All right, same thing. We have an erosion control agreement, and we have all our various affidavits. We kind of gave a brief summary of, the construction drawings, what we're looking for. All right, the key thing that we're trying to get across is we want to have a complete set of documents. That is crucial to us doing a proper plan review and expediting the process. If I don't have a complete set of documents, then there's no way that I can compare everything. So one thing that we definitely want to have is a cover sheet with our sheet index. And the reason why we want a sheet index, that's just basically a list of all the sheets that I gave you. The reason why that's important is because when you have to resubmit, we want to verify that when we actually put our final stamp, approval stamp on the drawings, that we actually included all the sheets in there. Sometimes what happens is when people resubmit the drawing, they just resubmit just the actual sheet that has a revision. And that doesn't work, because what happens if it goes to the plan review and we're ready to stamp the plans? I'm missing the other 18 sheets. That doesn't do me any good. And we're not going to go in there and go guess which sheets you replace, because I'm not your architect, I'm not your engineer, I'm not your surveyor. I don't know what changes he made. Another thing when we do revisions is we want to cloud those. And I'll go over a little bit more on that in a little bit. But basically, everything's available here. You can just click on it, open it, save it, edit it, save it back, and then we'll upload it. So just like with all the blue boxes, you just click on it and you just start adding whatever you want. In this case, this is the affidavit. So I have some, so I can say open. Then it's the application. And let's see, here we go. I got a residential application. You can also drag and drop these, just like Windows. I can drag and drop it over here. And if you see this last one, it's the drawings. So I can actually drag and drop drawings as well. And just cancel that. So now I've just attached all the drawings that I want to submit, all the documents. I have an affidavit, an application, and drawing. If there's something else I want to give, maybe I have, a report or letter. You might have a soil infiltration report or something that you want to, or an engineer's letter or certification that you want to do. You just check it and attach it. You just keep going with it. All right, when you're done, you click next, and it's going to give you a summary of everything that you filled out, the address, the parcel number, the basic information, give you an estimation of the fees, just basically everything. And here's all the attachments that we're going to do. And then when you're done, you just click submit. And what it's going to do, it's going to actually upload those documents into our software so that we have it. And now you have a permit number. So right here's your permit number on the top left. It says BR 2200538. All right. So you're ready to rock and roll. So let's check. See if I got an email here. Yep. So while we were doing that, I got another email. It says your account was approved, which we kind of knew because it worked. All right. Oh, and another thing, we put a link in pretty much most of the emails that'll take you right back into it. So there's a link back to Build Sandy Springs in case you forgot where it was. You don't need to remember. You can just click it and it'll launch it right away. Oh, let's see. The other one we got was your permit application was submitted, and it's got our permit number. It's got the status. It says, what are the next steps? The city staff will review your application for completeness and notify you of any missing or incorrect documents. After your application has been reviewed for completeness, city staff will begin the plan review process to review for compliance, and then we will contact you when your plan review is complete. And I'll show you, we'll walk through this step by step so you see exactly what comes back on your end. I'm not even driving the back office. I am sitting in a table just like you are, pretending to be you. And then my favorite, so we all get paid, is you have a new invoice. So again, it actually give you a copy of the invoice down here. You can actually click on it and open it. And what you were asking for, sir, this is exactly what happens. If you click on it, it just kind of opens up in view mode. If I want to save this, I would have to download it and then click save. But all these links here also, if you click on them, they'll take you right back into your permit. close that one. All right, so I'm gonna kind of give you a brief summary of what this page is. So there's a lot of different ways that you can navigate in this software, in this CSS that's built Sandy Springs, but I strongly recommend you go into your specific permit. All right, there's a dashboard, you know, and it looks like this, and it shows you, hey, here's things that need attention for my permits. If you have plans, if I have inspections, invoices, and this is a summary. If you have a large development and you got 100 different permits going on, this can be useful. But I'd say for most people, you're going to live here. You're going to go to My Work and go to My. It's a little not user friendly, and hopefully they'll get this sorted out in future releases. But you go to My Permits because that's what we're looking for, and then change this display to all, and then you're going to see every single one of your permits. It'll just be listed here. It'll tell you the current status of it, any things that need attention, and then you just click on it and it opens it right up. That's the best way for you to do everything. Yes, sir. It's updated live. It's anytime somebody touches it and looks at it and updates it, it's updated and it's live. I mean, within less than a minute. Usually it's within seconds. So the question was, how often is it updated? All right. So navigating this, we basically have these sub menus down here at the bottom. Summary is just kind of like a brief overall of everything that's going on. We do have a progress wheel down here, and it will start to populate as you start going through the project. I will tell you though, it's not exactly going to be 100% accurate. I don't know if you ever reach 100% because we have to pre-bake a lot of the inspections in there, and every permit's a little bit different. You may not have all the inspections. So for example, we have a rough building combo inspection, and that's how we prefer to do it. But we also have all the different inspections a la carte, building a structural, a rough framing, a rough mechanical, rough electrical, rough plumbing. You can do them all a la carte. So what the computer sees, because it's a computer, it says, oh, well, you didn't do 3 of them. So it's going to not quite be an accurate representation, but it's going to be approximate. Location is basically what you did. Part of the, when you applied. Fees. So fees is really important. So this is where you pay, obviously. You can see you have an invoice here, and it tells you a breakdown of it. So we do always, for every permit, we have an administrative fee, and we have a certificate of occupancy or certificate of completion. All right. Lets us know that you completed the permit per the building code and that you met all the requirements. We also have a major review. We have various different types of review fees. That's just basically to cover our plan review time, more or less. And then we actually have the permit fee, and that's a valuation for this particular permit. There's some that are just flat fees, but for this particular one, it's based on either your square footage or your valuation. And then we do have a technology surcharge, but they're all under one invoice, as you can see here. You can actually click on it and see it, but we'll go ahead and add it to the cart. All right. And this is the one that we have in here. You do have a cart at the top, so you can actually add all your permits to the cart at once and pay with one, transaction if you like, but it'll just let us know which ones go where. And then you just go to checkout. And it switches to another site called MyGovPay. This is where they actually do the transaction. And then you just come in here and you just start filling in all your information. Now, I'm not going to go through this because this is a live, real project right now, and I don't want to use my credit card to charge $2,900 for a fake permit. But when you're done, after you fill in all the information, put your credit card info in there, you just click Pay Now, and you're done. It says, congratulations, you paid, and move on down the road. One thing to note is you do have to pay before we begin the plan review process. All right. We've kind of gotten burned in the past where people maybe didn't pay, then they change their mind. And it gets very expensive when you're doing like 4, 5, 6, 7 reviews. It's a lot of time because at any given time, we have a team of probably in the neighborhood of 5 to 6 people reviewing your drawings at any given time. And you do that, and there's been an hour or so each time, times 7, it adds up. So, but yeah, anyway, so just go ahead and fill out that information and you're good to go. Now, Yep, that's exactly what I thought. Because it's a third party, and soon we're looking to upgrade that too, so it'll all be internal, so you can just switch back and forth. But that is actually a third party payment service, called MyGovPay, so that's why it kind of bumps you out. But like I said, to get back into it, just go to My Work, My Permits, display all, and then just click on your permit, and now you're right back in. That'll be your best friend once you figure out that pattern. So that's fees paid. Reviews. All right, so they've already finished the reviews. They're super fast today. But basically, you can see we have two types of reviews. So this is the reviews. A couple different ways. So we actually put our comments on the actual drawings now, and I'll show you that in just a second. But we also have, if you're familiar with the past, where we can actually put comments in there, we can still put those here, and they're available here in the reviews. If you click on this is the site plan, and it gives you the status. It says revisions required. And if they had any comments, they'll put them here. These are just general comments, not specifics, because all the specific stuff is going to be on your PDF. We did that intentionally because you can't print this out. I can't give this to you can't give it to your design team, to your architect, to your surveyor. They would have to have a login to be able to view these generic comments. So that's when we put everything on the drawings. So when you download it, everything's color coded, and I'll show you that in just a second. But basically, you can review those. Both of these people, the site was revision required. Your plan reviewer is their names right here. This is Samantha Dulac. And then the same thing for the other. You may see it if you come in here and you're checking the status that one person may be done and the other is still under review. All right. So that's kind of give you the current status of what's going on. So then what you can do is you go to attachments. And this is everything that you uploaded. Looks basically very similar to the application. But you can see here the application. There's no information about that. The affidavit. Well, right now I can see we have a couple little warnings that this needs to be resubmitted, and it says needs attention. And you can see I have resubmit button right down here. And they gave us a little resubmit instructions, say this document requires notarization. It's like, what? All right. So you can actually open up any of these to see what you sent. I'm like, I swear I gave them the right one. So you can click on it. It'll actually open up. And I swear I signed this. Okay, I guess I did it. So now we have a notary public. We forgot to get it notarized. All right, so now we know we need to upload. The same thing for the drawings. It says revisions required, and resubmit says, please address all the comments on the individual sheets. Again, we put everything on there. So curious, what are the comments on the sheets? Again, everything's hyperlinked. So if I just click on that and open it up, here we go. So let's see. This says you need to show all the building setbacks and dimensions. Okay, that's a good comment. I should have done that. And you need to include the lot coverage calcs. Yes, that is something that is required. So we also have this legend here. It says, like I said, everything's color coded. So you can see the brown comment. So this is from the site plan reviewer. So that's an easy way that you can kind of tell. So what I would typically do is I'll be like, hey, surveyor, I need you to address all the brown comments. If I were to email it to my design team. And then the other one was, I think, blue. Yep, blue. So that's my building plan review. So maybe I would give that to my architect, or my drafter or my residential designer or whatever, whoever is doing my plans in my house. That's the intent. So like I said, we're trying to make it a little bit easier, a little bit simpler for you to distinguish, because we have had instances in the past where, say, the architect didn't know whose comment was whose, and they start fixing something that was not broken. And then that causes a conflict in the drawings. And then we're going back and forth with it. And then everybody gets confused. So this is our attempt to try to make it easy for everybody. All right. So we want to resubmit these. So all you got to do is click on the resubmit button at the bottom of the screen, and then it'll take me back into it. So I have my affidavit here and I have my drawings here. All right. Now, since we use Bluebeam to actually mark up what you saw, the blue and the brown and all that stuff, markups is just the annotative text that we put in the Bluebeam. I would like to turn it off, honestly, but we can't right now. But basically, it's just basically everything that we put in. You can kind of ignore it. It's really not that important. Or you can respond to it if you have a question, or you say, hey, check, yes, I did it, if it's really obvious. but then you just click next, and now it takes you to the review. Same thing, just like applying. These are all the files. These are the reviews. So now it's going to let you go through each of the reviews, like we saw in the reviews tab. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, these are not the comments yet. These are the markups. They'll make a distinction. We have comments, then we have markups. Markups, like I said, this is just something that just automatically gets spit out from Bluebeam, which is the PDF software that we use. My recommendation would be just kind of ignore it. I can't turn it off right now. In the future release of the software, they'll allow us to turn this off, and we'll probably just turn it off because it causes a little confusion because you have everything actually on the PDF. I don't need to regurgitate it here. So I would probably just recommend just ignoring that. It's not necessary. If you want to, you can, and we'll see your responses, but it's not necessary. So, and things that are required, the computer will make you do something. So I intentionally left that blank just to prove to you that I don't have to respond to it. But these are required. It says all reviews in red must be acknowledged before continuing. All right. And you can actually click on expand all these out so you can minimize it and expand it out. And if I say, okay, I see that they had a comment, see mine in brown, et cetera, and I click next, it says, wait, you have to acknowledge everything before continuing. So now I have to acknowledge, yes, I read all your comments. Yes, I saw all your markups in Bluebeam, all the color-coded stuff. Yes, ma'am. No, so we're trying to get away from provide. So in the past, we did have a separate document that kind of had a list of things, but we're trying to get away from that because it's just one more document to kind of get lost. It doesn't get to your design team. And that's a problem that we kind of kept notice, a pattern that they didn't necessarily see all the comments, whether some were on the drawings and some were on a 8.5 by 11. So we're just trying to put everything on the drawings because in the design world for the architects and engineers, that's how everybody does it. You put everything on the drawings, you mark it up on the drawings, you give it back to the drafter, they make all the corrections, they send it back. So we're trying to do the same thing like everybody does in the real world. All right. So then we go to file, and now we're at the resubmit button. So I want to replace my affidavit. So I'll come in here and I will get the one with the notarization. And my drawings. I want to resubmit my revised drawings. There we go. And then we'll click submit. There we go. Everything was uploaded successfully. And now we're back under review. Okay. You'll notice when you first submit it, it says version 1, and now we're in version 2. Now we know we're in the second round of reviews. All right. So anybody have any questions so far? Yes, ma'am.
So on the notarization,
Yes.
obviously you can't do that through Adobe or whatever. So you have to print it out, notarize it, scan it.
Yes. Yep. And if you come into the office, we can actually notarize it for you. So we provide that service. And at any given time, you can open up your drawings and you can look at what you, since I just uploaded these under review, this is what I submitted. So in this particular case, hopefully if everything worked correctly. Yep, see this one that was notarized. And I think with COVID, they allowed digital notarization. And I don't think they've taken that away yet. So you might can still do all that remotely. Yes, sir. Uh-huh.
The GSWCC level 1A certification number.
Okay.
What is that?
Yep.
It's an erosion control.
It is erosion control. Yep. Yep. So when you're doing construction, you're required to have at least one person have that certification for your project, so they can, that way they know what's required for erosion control and all your BMPs and things like that. Your best management practice. That's basically your silt fence.
If you're working on a project that's a rebuild without any land disturbance.
Yep. No, and we will have a separate application for it that doesn't include that. Let's say you're doing an interior remodel. Yeah, you don't need it. Right. Good question, though. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yes. So the question was, when I resubmitted those drawings, there was a little toggle at the bottom right. I don't think I can't go back into it because it locks it after we submit. But there's a toggle at the bottom right that said, do you have any additional upload documents you want to upload? And you just toggle it, and then basically the new blue box comes up, and you just add your files. Say, hey, it's engineering report, and you just attach it. Because maybe one of the comments might be, hey, I need you to give me your soil infiltration report from your geotech, for things like that. And that's your chance to go ahead and upload that as a separate document. Or you can, some people will actually put the reports, the actual 8.5 by 11s, they'll just paste them in your drawings so that it's all there together all the time. People do it a couple of different ways, but it gives you that option. Just pick the different category for it. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Yes, sir.
Apart from you, your the design team, are they able to upload their work directly, or they have to?
Okay, that's a good question. So the question was, can the design team upload the documents on their own, or does the applicant have to do it every time? So to answer that question, is anybody who is a registered user, as long as their contact is added to this permit, anybody has access to it and can see this. So, but I'll caution you though, an expediter a lot of times will do this, for example. So the expediter is the one that'll get all the drawings from all the design team, and they'll actually upload everything for everybody. But if you want your architect to do it, they can. For some of our larger projects that are just kicking off, maybe they haven't selected a contractor yet, the architect may be the person that does that, and then later on it'll transition to the general contractor. So that would be under contacts, and everybody here who has an actual online account, they can log in with their own login and they see the exact same screen that you're seeing. That also means that they can upload whatever they want, whenever they want to. So, there's no control over it because you're giving them the keys to the house. Yeah, so like I said, the key people that get all the notifications are going to be the owner, the applicant, and usually the contractor. Now, if somebody else logs in, an engineer, they're probably not going to get that notification. All the confirmation, here's the status of your reports and inspections, et cetera, because it's not set up that way. It's just basically for the core people the essential people that have to have those, that contact information and correspondence.
I think he was asking the question a different way. Yeah. I think it's the contact, if someone who is listed uploads documents, will he get notified as the person who started the process?
Yeah, the applicant is always going to get notified. Yep. So like I said, the key people that get all the notifications is going to be the applicant, the homeowner, and the contractor. They're going to get all the notifications every time. Yep. But even if you don't get a notification, you can log in and check the status yourself. Likewise. And so maybe you want somebody else to pay for you. You say, hey, log in and go pay that for me, please. Yes, ma'am.
Just have a clarification question.
Mhm.
Did you say there's going to be different types of applications?
Yeah. So like say the commercial permit application will be different from the residential permit application, and the interior remodel may be different from a brand new house type of thing, because I don't need all the same information necessarily. Some of them may be the same because we can, but there may be some unique ones as well. And we're working through that as well. We're going the process of updating all of our permits to kind of put the relevant information in there, because I think on some of our old applications, like for the residential, they still ask, what's your building classification or what's your occupancy load, which is not required for residential. So we've kind of cleaned some of that stuff up.
So when we go to the application tab, are there different ones to choose at this point?
No, so when you apply, the hyperlink that you have is specific to that permit. So that's the one you use. Yep. So you don't have to hunt and guess which one it is. We've already taken all the guesswork out. Every document that you have to upload, it's in those shortcuts right at the top of the screen when you apply. Yes, ma'am. Yep. So the question was, say you uploaded something, you realize you set the wrong set. What happens? All right. So a couple things. It'll probably just go through the plan review process. More than likely, it'll just go through, you'll go through round reviews, and that'll be one of your comments, say, hey, you're missing these sheets, or whatever it may be. Now, if you realize it right away, I uploaded the wrong one because you just clicked on the file and you realize, oh, that's not the set, or maybe it's missing the other pages. All right, then call us. Because if we're still in the plan review process, we still have a chance maybe to fix it. But once we start the reviews, once the first review gets going, it's too late then, because they've already looked at it. They've already made comments on it. So we can just kind of reject it, get it back to you. And that'll allow you, just like you saw, to be able to resubmit then. So, but if you realize you submitted something in error, just let us know and we can go ahead and fix that so you can resubmit. But just give us a holler. All right, so let's keep moving on. So I've submitted a second time. I should get those out. Good. Let me refresh my page. There we go. All right, so it keeps a history of the reviews. And like I said, this is how you can kind of check the status of every single plan reviewer that looked at it. It's a little confusing because we're doing all the reviews back to back. But if you look at the original ones, keeps the oldest at the bottom, the latest at the top. So this is the first one that we went around. You can see the comments. The second time you can see it says they're red and green, just like a stop sign. Traffic light. So now everything's been approved. So the site plan's been approved by Samantha Dillac, and the same thing for the building. She also did that one as well, and that's approved. So now we know that the status has been approved. All right. But that doesn't necessarily mean that your drawings might be available or that you have your permit card and all that stuff yet. There's a couple things that need to take place. One, we need to make sure that you don't have any outstanding fees, because you may have an impact fee. You may have possibly a resubmittal fee, because what we do is I don't expect anybody to get it right the first time, but we'll give you some comments and you'll resubmit. But if we get into like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then it's eaten into the permit fees. So then we're going to start charging, I think it's $200 for every resubmittal, just to kind of cover the expenses, which I think is still a lot cheaper than maybe some other municipalities that we won't name. Like I said, impact fees. If you're building a new house, you may have money that has to go into a tree fund because you cut down some of your large canopy trees in order to build that McMansion that you put in there. There's all kinds of different variables and fees that may pop up, during plan review, and those will show up. So that's why you have to go ahead and get that, and then that has to be done so you can get your permit. All right, so we saw in the reviews tab over here that everything was approved. All right, now that they've been approved, I can actually go in there and see my drawings. Let's see. There we go. So this is my red lines. This is when I resubmitted, a key thing, and this is good to see, is every time you resubmit, we want you to put the revision clouds on there. And that's what these things are. It's very important because you can see there's a lot of information on these drawings. And this is a very simplified one, extremely simplified. A lot of times this whole sheet would be just cluttered with information. And it's very difficult to distinguish, what's new and what's not if it's just all black line work. All right. So if you make a change, you're required to cloud it. So just put a cloud around it so we can go right away, because we'll open up the old plans next to the new plans and we'll compare them side by side. And that's how we can tell if, you addressed all of our comments. So please, when you resubmit, just go ahead and cloud everything. But this one, you can see obviously has a permit signature stamp on it. So this is my approved permit set. But it doesn't mean you can begin work yet because you don't have your permit card. Right. So you can't begin work until you get that permit card. All right. How we doing, Sam? Permit card? Okay. Trades, okay. So trades, all right. Yeah, it's a good question. So the question was, how about trades? How do we upload their information? All right, because this bucket kind of turns off during the original plan review, but once everything's been approved, it turns back on because you don't know your trades until after you get into construction. All right, but we need to know who the trades are. Yeah, if you're a good builder, you know exactly who your trades are. But with the economy the way it is and as busy everybody has been, that you may change. You may know or wish it's somebody, but then you had to change because they weren't available. So things that we do want their affidavits. So you can just go to mechanical, just select who they are, and then just attach it. At the application, we had all the different affidavits available right there. They're also available on the website, so you can actually go back to the website and navigate to it. We kind of have them all organized in a similar way for all the affidavits together. Just fill it out and upload it right here, and now it's in the system. Yes, ma'am. No, right. So no, once, so there's a couple things with contacts. So you can add a contact, but again, the contact has to be somebody who's already in the system. All right. If they're in the system, then yes, you can go ahead and add them right here and they will be there. But you still have to give us their affidavit and that has to be notarized. Okay. That's required by law. That's to verify that the person who you're allowing to do your work is, up to date on their license. If you're an electrician or your HVAC tech or whatever it may be, all right, you still have to give us that documentation. All right, we're working on allowing them to maybe be able to upload it themselves with their own account, and then we'll have it so you can just add it and it's already there. But we're still working on that. It's a future release feature that will be coming available hopefully in the near future. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
You sign up with one trade and then we have all the affidavits and everything else. But then have somebody else.
Right.
How do we pull the first one?
So, okay, so the question was, what happens if I had a trade or a GC, anything? What if I had a contractor and then things went south, it didn't work out, or maybe they weren't available, or maybe they were ghosting, or whatever it may be, and they get let go, fired, they don't show up for the job, and you need to replace them with a new one, all right? What we need then is I just need a letter, an email, something stating, hey, and it has to come from either the applicant or the owner, all right? Because that's who's legally responsible for this permit at this point, all right? So the applicant or the owner, I need something from them basically stating, I'm removing that person off this permit, and my new person is this. Okay. When you do that, you also have to upload the new affidavit for all those or an owner authorization. Because if it's a commercial project, you don't own the property. All right. So you need permission from the owner. There's an owner's authorization, which says, hey, I allow them to do this work on my property. And then you have your general contractor's affidavit, which basically is, what it says, like, here's all my license information and I'm working on this property. Same thing for the trades, subcontract affidavit. All right. So good questions. So now we want to go in here and refresh this. There we go. So you saw the drawings, they were already approved. All right. We're going to upload your permit card too. So once you get done with the plan review process, we're going to go ahead and upload everything right then. So now here's the permit card. It's available to you. Everything else that's available to you, the noise ordinance, I'm going to go ahead and upload that for you as well. These are the two things that you have to have posted on your site in your box all the time. All right. And the other thing is we're going to try to start getting the inspections in there. So no more guessing which inspections do I have to have. Have it broken down pretty well. Like here's our pre-con, here's the foundation phase, here's the building phase, and here's the final phase. All right. And all the inspections in between and a kind of brief summary of what we're looking for at each of those inspections. Not every permit is going to have to require all of them because every project is a little unique and custom, especially here in Sandy Springs, because everything we do is custom. But that's there for you to have as well. Yes, ma'am. No, our city staff will generate the permit card and everything. So it's just part of the process. So once your plans are approved, we will continue the process of getting your permit card. But again, key thing there is we won't issue the permit card until after all fees have been paid. And then we have all of your affidavits for your contractors in there. Because if you notice on that permit card, it lists the general contractor. They're on there with their license information. So we have to have that on there. Yes, ma'am.
Only for this exercise.
Yeah. Yeah, there may be a day lag between when the plan reviewers get done. So basically what you will probably see most likely is you'll see this as all green. All right. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we're done because we still have to verify that some other things, basically, you know, all your affidavits are current, they haven't expired, and other things, and fees are paid. But once we do all that, that's when we begin. So there may be a day or two lag between seeing that these are approved and actually getting your permit card. So just be patient with us on that. All right, so now I'm ready to rock and roll. So what's the next step we have to do here? That's going to be inspections. Now you have your permit card, you've posted it, you can download everything you want, right? It's all right here. Print out as many copies of your drawings as you want. Make sure you always have one in the permit box at all times. You can print as many as you want for yourselves because I know those drawings always grow legs and walk away. Trust me, it happens all the time. So how do you schedule inspections? All right, again, back here in this sub tab, right here, inspections. This will give you a little notice here, and it'll be red if you can't schedule inspections. And two things it's looking for is making sure that the permit has been issued and that you have no fees. So if you have fees outstanding or you don't have your permit card, you will not be able to schedule inspections. But there's no notifications here. So the first inspection you always have to request is your pre-construction meeting. All right, all you have to do is title it. All right, I select it and then say request inspection. And now it comes up to request a date. So what date do you want this on? Let's say we want it Friday. All right, and then this is the information that you want to give the inspector, you know, whatever it may be, you know, please call Donnie at 770-206-5600, or maybe you have the gate code is 1234. Whatever information you want, please call me before arriving. We try to do that anyway, but we never know exactly how long the prior inspection is going to take, so we can't give you an exact time. But we usually pretty good about an AM or a PM, or if you request an AM or PM, usually we can honor those. But just put your notes in there. Especially if you have a gate code, we kind of need to know that as we can't do the inspection. Yes, sir.
So I know some jurisdictions do it differently, but do you provide a window or an estimated time window for an inspection?
So the simple answer is no. Okay. So the question is, do we offer a window of when we'll be out there to do your inspection? All right. So the simple answer is no, because we don't really know what the schedule is going to be until we're actually going out there, and we don't know how long it's going to take. Sometimes I can do a rough combo and I'm in and out of there in like 10 minutes. Sometimes I'm in and out of there in about an hour. It just totally depends. You know, good contractors that have been there, done it, know what they're doing. Homeowners trying to DIY their house themselves. Yeah, I've been out there for 2 hours. You know, it just really depends. And that can push the schedule. So I would just say we're pretty good about calling We'll try to call you, let you know, hey, we're gonna be 30 minutes out. It could be I'm down the street from you. I'll be there in 10 minutes. So I don't like people waiting on site all day, but once we schedule the inspection, you'll see who your inspector is. So the morning of your inspection, you'll see exactly who your inspector is. All right. And you can call that inspector and ask him directly. Because I can tell you that phone rings every morning nonstop. They're like, hey, what time are you coming now? It's like, well, I'll be there approximately 10:30 because they've already figured out the routes. We kind of try to do the routes the night before and early in the morning. So we know who's going where, and then the inspectors kind of figure out their route for the day. And so they'll have a ballpark idea. They'll be able to tell you it'll be afternoon around 11 o'clock, ballpark.
Better than some jurisdictions that I deal with.
Yeah, you may wait days.
No, you don't get any kind of notification.
Yeah, yeah.
Period.
So we'll try, but you can always call us at any time to find out. Yes, ma'am. Yep. So the pre-con, a good thing I want to bring up on pre-construction meetings. So please note that we have separate pre-construction meetings. We have a site pre-con and we have a building pre-con. They're not one and the same. All right, because the site work begins first, and then a couple months later, the building may begin or whatever. All right, so that's why we have them separate. Okay, you can schedule them at the same time if you want. That is no problem, and we'll come out there. You may have two different inspectors because it's my site guys or my building guys, but you can schedule them at once or just before you begin work, you got to do your pre-con. All right, and basically we're going to go over the list of inspections, you know, what we're looking for, the gotchas during inspections. So there are certain things that, you know, we see time and time again that people always seem to get hung up on, like fireproofing, fire blocking, just various other things, sheathing, hold downs. So there's a short list of things. And I got a whole separate seminar on what those gotchas are. You can go to the website and get that information. But to finish this, you just put the date in you want and put whatever notes you need to put in there, and you say submit, and you are done. Now, key note here is if you put that request in by 2 o'clock, we're pretty much out there the next day. We are extremely responsive and we never close at all. Yes, sir. Okay, next business day, yes. Yeah. So if you schedule it by 2 p.m., we're out there the next business day. Yes. Don't expect us to come out on Saturday and holidays, you know. Not to say that we haven't, but yes, next business day. I don't think anybody quite does it that, but all right. So you schedule your inspection now. So you go through all your inspections. Now, what happens if you have scope creep? All right, it all happens. It's a reality. Hey, homeowner's like, you know what? What if we go ahead and make this a little bit bigger? What if we add a master suite? You know, it happens all the time. And you know what? Nobody's going to say no. All right, because things aren't free and they're going to have to pay for it. And we're all in business to make money. So we're always going to say yes. But you have to submit your revised drawings and that has to be approved. You know, if it's a simple interior remodel, I mean, not too much harm there unless you have some structural framing modifications and all that. All right. I'm not going to really sweat the little minor stuff. But if you do have stuff that's going to change your lot coverage calcs, if you add an addition, I'm adding an extra 1,500 square feet to my house or a 400 square foot bedroom or whatever it may be, you need to resubmit your drawings. All right. You're required to. You have to go through the plan review process again. So how do you do that? All right. It's the exact same way in the exact same place as attachments. You just go to attachments and start it again. I want to upload some drawings. I will have, this particular one doesn't have it, but we actually call them plan modifications. And I kind of did that intentionally because when we first submit drawings and we go through a second round, those are called revisions. All right, revision 1, revision 2, revision 3. So I didn't want to get that confused with after the permit's been issued, we'll have a revision to my drawings. People get confused. They send us the wrong drawings is what happens. So we call them plan modifications. So I'll add a bucket or list here for plan mods, and you can just start using that for plan modifications. But in this case, I'll just go ahead and do that. And I'm going to upload a new drawing here. Let's see. There you go. Here's one, plan mods. Perfect. So I will just select that. Here it is, my plan mods, and I will just submit that. Are you sure you want to submit it? Because as soon as I do, it's going to turn that bucket off so I can't upload more stuff, more PDFs basically. And I say yes. And now I just submitted a plan mod, a revision to my approved permit, basically. Yes, ma'am. Yep. So another thing you need to do when you submit your plan mods is you need to let us know what they are. So you can actually resubmit your application updated, you know, just say, hey, put a date like July 30th, you know, added 1,500 square foot master suite or whatever. Whatever those changes are, just let us know what they are so we can tag it. Okay. So you, yeah, man.
How do you resubmit the application to keep the same?
Well, you're already in the permit number, so that's never going to change. It's right here. So any files I keep uploading, they're always tagged to this permit number. Yep. So yeah, we just do another application and then it'll just resubmit it. And it'll keep it separate. It keeps everything together for all the different reviews. So if I'm in the original submittal, it keeps everything together. Then once I get done with it after permit, then it like starts over again. So now everything is under plan mods, basically. Yes, sir.
Would you be able to bring up workflow and possible trades that are not identified in the process?
We can talk, we'll talk afterwards when we have some time, you know, Q&A, and we can talk about any of the extra stuff like that. All right. So we just uploaded drawings for plan mods. Let me refresh my screen. You guys doing the plan mods, Sam? Okay. All right.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
So at our place, we've got me doing permits. There was a gentleman doing it prior to me
Mhm.
that moved to a different
Right.
position. He's a PM now. And I'm having to use his login with all the information and whatnot. But I tried to make a new one because it's under his email
Right.
and we need it going to the company permit email.
Right.
So when I try to go in and I try to use permits at greenremodeling.com, it kicked it out because it recognized somehow, somewhere
It was in use.
that it was already in use.
Okay.
So how do I go about making it to where?
You can use your own email.
Yeah.
Okay. So the question was, we have a contractor, say the owner of the company apply for a permit and has his contact, and all of us superintendents, you know, they're the ones that are actually in the field doing the work, and they're the ones that really need to line the communications back and forth. So they want to add themselves to the permit, but it's originally under the main, you know, owner of the company. So you can add, if you're already in the system, you can just give us a call and let us know, or actually when you apply for your permit, you can tell us, hey, add these people too. And we'll go ahead and add them in, and then you can log in with your own credentials. But if you don't have it, yeah, you can register for a new account like we did this morning. If that email is already in use, it's already recognized that it's being used or that there's an account for it, you have a couple options. If it's an old account, so say back 3 years ago, we had what's called, our predecessor to this was called CAP, Contract Access Portal. It was not the most user-friendly, but because it's all the same software, it just brought everything forward. So if you have an older CAP account, what you need to do is reset your password. So when you get to say forgot password, and it'll reset the password, and that kind of will reactivate it. And that may work. If that still does not work, then give us a call and we can actually find the old one, delete it, and you can redo it. And now if you want to be added, say, to any existing permit numbers, just let us know, give us a list of all those permit numbers and we can add you to it so you can literally see everything too.
Okay.
Yeah, that way you can log in with your own credentials and all that.
all of the stuff that I do is sent to his email.
Yeah, and you need it because you're boots on the ground. Yes, I know. Yes. Yeah, like I said, the superintendents, honestly, with construction, the superintendent's the ones that really need to have all the communication. They need to be on the permit card. That's why they always get all the contacts. All right. Well, while I'm here, while we're waiting, let's go back to my emails and see what other emails that I got. So when I resubmitted earlier, it gave me a notice that I had revisions. Revisions are required. All right. I get my permit number and you give me the status here. All right. And it says city staff has, it's bigger. City staff has completed a review of your submitted construction documents and determined plan revisions will be required before the permits can be issued. Please log into Build Sandy Springs to view staff's comments. And again, this is a direct link into this specific permit. So if you click on it, it goes right in. Because you can have this Build Sandy Springs, remember your login and password. So every time you go to it, you're already logged in and it'll just go straight into the page, right into this permit. You don't have to go, my permits, show all, you don't do all that. It just goes straight into it. So you can click on it directly from the emails. Says to view the staff's comments, you can log in and you can see everything. But the next steps, please edit your construction documents as noted by city staff and cloud, or highlight essentially any changes to the plans and the sheet index. Under the attachments tab in Build Sandy Springs, select the resubmit button, acknowledge each individual comment and upload your revised drawings. I'll allow 5 additional business days for staff to review your revised plans, and you'll receive another notification after your plans are complete. I suspect I have another email that says drawings are compliant right there. Just like it says, you're compliant, and how to start scheduling inspections and things like that. Yes, sir. The protocol is we need to speed up. So, I mean, we try to, honestly, 5 days is pretty aggressive. I mean, I honestly cannot think of any municipality that does it in 5 days. I mean, if you look at City of Atlanta, you're like maybe 3 months, and even some of our neighbors, they're usually 10 days minimum. We try to get it within 5 days, and but it can be a challenge. We get busy times, right? And also the thing that affects that is the level of drawings that we get. That's why I have all these seminars. Look back at some of the old seminars and trying to educate people who are submitting drawings to give us a complete set of drawings. We're very unique here in Sandy Springs. I'll be honest. I mean, yes, it's Sandy Springs. It's, a nice place to live and a well-to-do place. Everybody wants to live and work here. But that means everything's custom. We don't do track homes in Sandy Springs. I have not seen any really. So that means we do a good plan review. We're pretty fortunate that all of our plan reviewers are licensed architects, engineers, surveyors. I mean, I have PEs, architects, surveyors on staff, landscape architects, and these are the people that are doing the plan reviews. All right. So, and every one of them has 20 plus years of experience before they came to this side doing it for you guys. So it's hard to fake it, BS it, whatever you want to call it. You can get away with a lot of stuff in other municipalities, but you're probably not going to get away with it here. And it's not that we're trying to be difficult. We're just trying to make sure that we provide that level of service for, the end user which is going to be the owner of the building. All right. Things like that. But I will tell you that as difficult as it may seem, it makes your project go a lot smoother at the end, because guess what? You have a coordinated set of drawings. Everything's already been identified, all the shortcomings. We put it all in there. That's when we go through this detailed plan review process. So we try to do 5 days. It may roll over a couple of days. Just be patient. It'll come in. If you haven't heard from us in, 10 days, 5, 6, 7 days, give us a call, shoot us an email, and we'll follow up with it, and we'll try to get that out the door.
Drawings that come up with comments, but then you get another round of comments for something that should have been picked up the first time. Right?
That's correct. That's correct. And that's one reason why we started putting the notes on the drawings themselves. Like I don't like having a narrative summary of a problem, because that doesn't tell me where the problem is on my 50-page set of drawings. You know, I'm a structural engineer, so I'm used to somebody going on that sheet and circling and say, you need to fix this one. Because it could just be a typo on one page. And like I said, I've literally had architects go in there and try to fix something that was not broken because they didn't know which sheet it was, right? So that's why we're kind of shifting to this digital age where I'm putting actually all comments on the direct sheets. The intent is for us to start identifying. And we're humans, all right? We're gonna miss things, all right? But we're doing a pretty thorough job, you know, to catch the big ticket items at least.
You deal with amateurs and professionals. When you're dealing with
It is.
professionals,
Oh,
what
it's
is the
wonderful.
typical, review? 3 reviews, 2 reviews, 5 reviews?
No, nobody really gets it right the first time. I don't expect anybody to, but it's commercial is a good example. So the question was, what's the difference between residential versus commercial or design professionals versus not design professionals? And the difference there is the quality of drawings that you get. All right. And it can affect the schedule a lot. I mean, it's for a commercial set of drawings when they have a licensed architect and a licensed engineer, second round, probably getting the permit. If it goes to a third, it's something very, forgot to put the building code on there or something like that. It's usually minor stuff at that point. Residential, usually 3, 4, probably just because the drawings are not coordinated. There's so many discrepancies in residential drawings because it's not a licensed architect and they're not talking to their structural engineer. You're talking, it's a drafter or or a residential designer, and then somebody else hired a structural engineer. So there's no dialogue back and forth between your design professionals. And that's the difference between residential versus commercial, usually. It's not always the case, all right? But usually that's usually what goes on. And we can tell right away. So, yes, ma'am.
That was my question. Is the process pretty much the same? We're doing utility projects.
Yep.
So the process itself.
The process is primarily the same, yeah. So Greg Payne does the utility permits, and it's the similar process. You apply here just like we did this morning. So you register the same, you apply for a permit the same way. The workflow and the steps may be slightly different than what I'm showing today because that's a different department. But in general, the things are primarily the same. And there's Greg Payne coming in right now. So Greg, do you want to, she just asked a question about utility permits. Do you want to have anything to say about those? We got a mic in the back if you want. Perfect timing. Yep.
Good morning. Yes, like Jonathan said, the process is a little similar, but we are updating our process as well to match the upgrade of the software. So we'll probably do another one of these specifically for utility permits. So.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the point is we're going to try to have everything available to you here. So it's just one source. I think we're using DocuSign, I think currently to kind of get stuff back and forth signed and not signed, because it's a little bit different when you do utilities because there's more checks and balances basically. And that's what we have to, that's what makes it a little bit different. So it's not exactly the same, but the process is essentially the same. Yep. All right. So we submitted that. Let me refresh this. Did you do it? Okay. All right. So now we go to plan mods approved. Okay, great. Perfect. All right. So as you can see, like I said, and I'll change this to say plan modification so we can distinguish that this is a mod to an approved permit. But we can go and click on this one. I think for this particular one, they went ahead and approved it because the process is exactly the same that we did before. So there's really no need to show you it again. So this is our plan mods. In this particular case, they add a new master bath wing to this house. So we'll reissue the drawings. But key thing to note here is, again, it's an entire new submittal. I need all the drawings again because I want to stamp a complete master set and know what was changed. So that's the key takeaway that I can really emphasize to you guys is give me a full set with a sheet index, collage your changes. You do that, we're golden. All right. So now we're done. So we've revised our drawings. We've submitted plan modifications. So let's say we're done with all of our inspections. All right. Now we're ready to get our CO. Okay. So there's a couple of things. In order to get your CO, you need to submit a CO request. We have a form for you to fill out where you can request it, because I don't know what your schedule is. You know, I know when you finish a certain milestone, like your building final, the building final, we don't permit finishes, right? So you can do your building final and not have hardwood flooring, technically. That rarely happens. I think it's happened like once, you know, on an apartment complex maybe, but so we need you to tell us when you're ready for your CO, because some instances it's been 3 months afterwards because they're waiting on hardware. They're waiting on a finish or a certain tile or something to that effect. So to request your CO, a couple different ways. Probably the easiest way to do it, let's just keep it the same thing. All right. I want to do CO. So now I can just upload my CO request right here. Here's a CO request form. And I just upload that. Another thing that you need in order to get your CO is something called as-built drawings. As-built drawings are literally what they sound like. It's your as-built conditions of what you built. All right. So say it's a new house and it's 2,500 square feet on a nice square lot, but maybe it's too close to the setback or it's right up on the setback line. All right. So as-builts are required. The general rule, there's always, so basically all new constructions usually going to require an as-built drawing, or any type of addition, alterations, any type of project that's going to be within 5 feet of a setback, or any other type of unique circumstance, such as, you know, if it's near any type of easement or any type of water setback, or any type of, so maybe you have some septic system that's already there that you have to stay away from. So if you have any type of conditions like that, usually if you're within 5 feet, then you're required to get an as-built survey. All right. So that's the other thing we want to go ahead and upload here in order to get your drawings. Now, when you do the original plan review, we'll tell you, and we'll put on your drawings, you need to submit your as-built drawings before applying for your CO. So it's on your drawings whether or not you need to have one. So let's go ahead and upload the as-built drawing as well. Let's see. Well, let's just grab one. All right, now I've also uploaded an as-built, and then when we're done with that, we're gonna say, yep. It's just a straight survey, right? Key things to note on the as-built though are, it's a straight survey, but you also need to include on the as-built your updated lot coverage calcs. So what happens sometimes is, say you're allowed 35% lot coverage, all right, for a residential property, pretty common for an RD18. And some people will get right at 35%. And if you do an addition or plan mod, now you've just gone over that. And then we kind of have a problem then, right? So that's what, or maybe you were right at 34.5 and then your plan mod bumped you over. So those are things that we kind of want to catch during the plan mod. That's why we want you to submit those drawings, because we'll check some of that stuff. So that's what the as-built survey just verifies: dimensions, placements, make sure you didn't build it over the setback line. Couple things that catch people in as-built are HVAC. HVAC is not allowed to go into the setback. All right. And quite oftentimes they'll move it from where it was approved on the plans, and then it'll be over the setback. And then that's when we discover, because it's an imaginary line out in the field, right? We can't tell where that setback line is until we get a survey of it. And then that's when we know. So that's why we also require things like foundation form surveys for new construction. So we can kind of, that's our last chance before we go ahead and build this big structure. And then it's kind of, it gets complicated after that. So,
And another item for the as-bills, again, if your project requires a water quality device, just make sure it's on there. It has to have GPS location. There's actually a certification statement that the surveyor puts on there. You know, we'll, again, once the as-bill comes into play, we will respond to what's outstanding or missing.
on that document.
Yep, and we have some of our previous seminars. If you go to the seminars page, we have some information about as-built, what's required to be on it, and also site plans. Okay,
One of our projects right now, the what quality trench
yeah,
happens to be on the
under the deck.
Does that get, what's the, how do you guys inspect that?
So the question is, if you have existing water quality that's under a deck,
Yeah.
we would inspect it as it's being installed. So you would dig out the water quality, say it's a trench. So our site inspection would make sure that it's the right size and approximate location was on the plans. And then from there, they give the go ahead. They will go ahead and fill it back in as it needs to be to show it on your as-built. But we have to inspect it before anything else.
Right, but there are some limitations on that though, because I think it has to be what, 10 feet away
Correct.
from the structure. Right, that way it doesn't impact the foundation of the house because it is a pit. And the soil profile beneath the footing is roughly 45 degrees. So that impacts that because you're basically digging a hole and saturating it, filling it up with water, which is going to soften the soils of your house, which means it can lead to premature settlement. So that's why it's kind of critical. That's why it's got to have that minimum distance away. And you can't build on top of it. So you can't put a footing over it. Right. Okay. So you good? All right. So now we can go back in here and we can, after we've applied for everything and we verify that your as-built is good. If it's not, if you're missing some information as-built, it's the exact same process as your plan review. You'll get an email say, hey, here's some markups. We'll show you what's wrong, just like I did earlier. And then you just resubmit it the exact same way. So everything is the exact same process, just for whichever bucket you're in. Okay. So in this case, let's see where we are with this. All right. As-built drawing. That was, it's approved. Yep. So we would probably put a stamp on here saying that it was approved. But likewise, I'll tell you something that we have started doing for sure is we have started putting a suffix at the end of everything that says approved. So like your drawings, when we stamp it, we say approved stamp plans at the end or something like that. So that you know when you email it to your customer that you're sending them the correct set, the correct file, I should say. It's just good naming convention, good practice. So that's what we started to do is rename the files just for everything that's been approved.
When exactly does the client have to call for CO?
When do they have to call for CO? That's up to you. Whenever you're ready. So I will tell you that it has to be done before your people move in. You cannot occupy a building without a certificate of occupancy. That is illegal. Technically, I don't care about the finishes, yes, but unless it has to do with, say, your walking surface, because I also have to provide. So the whole point of a certificate of occupancy is egress. It's life safety, essentially. Obviously, everything's built correct, it's safe, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, it comes down to, can the person safely get out of their house to a place of refuge? The place of refuge for residents is going to be the street. That means they can't have anything impeding. They can't have a broken driveway, a pile of dirt or anything there that's going to impede them from being able to exit their house in case it caught on fire, and vice versa. I also have to allow, say, the firemen to be able to get to you to save you or put out the fire. All right, so it goes both ways. It's not just for you, it's for the rescue services also to be able to get to you. So the what? Oh, the cinema room? Yeah, I don't care about that. No, things like. Yeah, so, okay, so I cannot issue a CO until the project is entirely approved and passed. Some things that we may consider a temporary certificate of occupancy would be something's on back order, right? Or maybe we installed the wrong window in the bathroom. It wasn't tempered glass, all right? It happens, all right? Or they shipped the wrong one and it's not tempered, All right, just FYI, all tempered glass is required to be etched, saying that it's tempered, or it's required to have a sticker on it that gets damaged when you remove it that says this is tempered glass. All right, if it doesn't, it's not approved tempered glass. I don't care if you have a invoice or something that says I bought a tempered glass and somebody said, oh yeah, it's tempered glass. You can't tell it's tempered glass until you crack the corner of it and it shatters into a million pieces. You can't tell just by looking at it necessarily. All right. So in that instance, you know, everything's done. Show me, let's say the window, for example, in the bathroom. All right. It's supposed to be tempered glass within 5 feet of a walking surface or whatever, the tub. Show me your invoice where you paid for the tempered glass window that's supposed to be arriving on whenever it gets there. What I may make you do in the meantime is maybe put like that 3M film on the glass or something like that in the meantime till you get the correct one. 3M film is not tempered glass. It works in a similar manner, but it's still not the same because you put that on the film, and if you break that glass, the edges are still exposed if it were to actually, the whole thing came out or broke, because it's still going to crack and still have large pieces. So, you know, I may consider something like that. And these are case by case things. All right. There is no rule specific, and every house is unique and different. So I can't say one size fits all. That I can definitely say. You know, so appliances is, I will say the other thing that's required is you have to have a place to condition space, basically. This is for safe. So you have to have a place to eat. So cook, you have to have a means of cooking. You have to have a place to go to the bathroom. You have to have a place to sleep. You know, HVAC has to be conditioned, you know, things like that. So those are things that we're looking for. So typically appliances are in. I don't care about a dishwasher. No, I don't really care. But the problem is I have to inspect that dishwasher to make sure that it's put in. So I still have to come out and inspect it to make sure that it was installed properly. Like you got your hammer arrestor on it, that it's wired properly. I can tell you the number of times that I've seen just loose wires laying around and stuff's not in a junction box. So those are the kind of things that we're checking for. And that's critical, especially if I'm under a sink, you know? So things like that. In those instances, maybe because I know appliances specific, especially for some of the homes that we're building around here, they may be in back order. Yeah, I know, like the wolf ranges and stuff like that, you need to go ahead and order it when you apply for, before you apply for your permit. Because if you think you're going to get away with it, you're not. You're going to be changing. What some people have done, because you have to have a place to, a means of cooking, you know, then I've had people just put in a cheap range or something like that in the meantime as a placeholder. You know, these are unique times right now, you know, and we're dealing with them as best we can. Like I said, it's one size does not fit all, but we'll work with you. I completely understand. I mean, I grew up in construction. I get it. My dad was a builder, so I'm very familiar with the process. I'm very familiar with trying to order appliances because my appliances are on back order for many months now. So yeah, trust me, we've heard a lot. So we're aware, but we'll work with you.
To add to John's point right now about the COs from a site perspective, your site has to be prepared, it has to be ready. If the instance is I cannot get sod, we have some instances said, okay, you put up a cash bond for the same value of the sod you're going to install, but you have to at least stabilize your site with seed and straw, and it has to germinate. You have to go through some steps. It's not just leave the site work until whenever the building's ready to go. It has to be as near perfect, as near complete as possible.
Yeah. Yep. And like I said, every site's different, but we will try to work with you, but we will tell you what those limitations are, or what's, you know, another thing that I say that comes up for a TCO is the house might be done, but the pool's not. For new construction, we're trying hard to maintain a safe work site. All right. Cause I mean, I've literally seen somebody get impaled by a piece of rebar, literally. All right. And that's not a fun thing, you know, and you see them pull them off of a piece of rebar that much. It's like not a good sight. But because of that, you know, we want the entire new construction. We like the entire project to be done before I issue a final CO on everything. That's the ideal way. So just do due diligence, plan your projects accordingly, account for those delays. But things do come up. I've had people order custom tile coping. That's what they're waiting on, before I can sign off on everything or whatever. We've seen all kinds of different things in the past 2 years. It's amazing. But for something like that, maybe we may require you in the back patio that goes out there, we may require you to put like a construction fence up just to keep occupants from falling into the open ditch that's out there and laying on bare concrete 8 feet down. So there's things like that. Like I said, we're just trying to maintain safety for the workers, safety for the site, safety for the occupants. That's all we're caring about at the end of the day. So I just opened up the CO. This is what it looks like. So we've made it all the way to the end. Basically looks like this, has your information, the project address, the owner address, is it sprinklered, is it not sprinklered? It looks a little bit different for commercial projects. It has the other information, but that is permitting from A to Z. So we applied, we permitted, plan mods and everything. So does anybody have any questions? No more questions? I did a good job then. All right. All right, guys. If anybody has any questions they want to talk afterwards, I'll be available. So, all right, guys. Thank you very much. Y'all have a great day. Hey.